What?
It's a good thing you did your hair today. No one wants to see
Oh,
that.
yeah, good thing. You guys don't get my messy bun this morning. So, how's everyone doing?
They just had to listen to
Good.
me for an hour, so they're probably tired.
I thought I was late when I got on, but it was fun getting to hear you talk for a little bit, Bruce. So that's awesome. Well, Savannah and I are here to chat with you guys a little bit about transaction coordination and the new services that we're offering to the office now. Do many of you guys use a transaction coordinator yet? No? Yes? You can nod your heads for those of you who have your videos on to answer. That's okay. We wanted to introduce ourselves, give a little bit of history about who we are in our own transaction coordination journey, tell you a little bit about our company, and then end with a couple tips that we've learned that has really just helped the effectiveness and efficiency of our own businesses when it comes from contract to close. So I have been in real estate for 6 years now with leading my team. I've assisted my husband. He's had his license for about 15 years now. And so a lot of this work has always fallen onto my plate as far as the organizational and the paperwork and things like that. I really do enjoy it, but I don't have time for it all the time. And when I started in real estate, I was a little bit hesitant about outsourcing my transaction coordination work, mainly I'm a little bit of a control freak. I want my business run the way I want my business run. And I was always afraid of something, the ball being dropped, things like that. So I've gone through a couple different transaction coordinators myself. As a high producing agent, there's very specific that I like to have within business. And the things that I find value with transaction coordinators is taking the busyness off of my plate, making sure that I'm hitting all my dates and deadlines. So I'm not sitting in my bed at 11 o'clock at night wondering, oh, shoot, did I miss a deadline today? That's going to risk my client's earnest money. I want my transaction coordinator to make me look good. That's very important to my business. And I explain my TCs to my clients as they're the ones who make sure every I is dotted, every T is crossed. That means they are very organized. And so I like it's simple things. It comes down to, do they have complete sentences in their emails? Grammar, little things like that really drive me crazy as an agent if it's not done well. And so in the long scheme of things, all those things kind of came together where we started building out this business and processes and procedures to really be able to execute all those angles. So I started actually building it with Savannah and bringing in just the 2 teams and all the other TCs that I've used. It has really grown into something pretty cool. So we're excited to share these services with you guys. But yeah, that's kind of my journey, how I got here. So, Savannah.
I'm Savannah. I'm with the Fishkin team. I've been in real estate for 6 years myself. I'm licensed for 3 and started as an executive assistant and then grew into the transaction coordinating position. So I've been doing it for 5 years now, doing all the transactions. So have learned multiple things throughout the way and worked on our system so much that now clients just rave about how smooth the transaction is for them. If you guys look us up on Google, you can see our recent reviews of how people are just raving that how smooth it seems to be. And it really just comes down to our systems. So when Brittany David technically approached me, but then Brittany and I, handled everything from there. But we kind of merged the Fishkin team systems with the system she had already been working on. And just as yesterday, I was on a phone call with an agent this morning already that's using our services. And she was like, now I can just go get more business. This is so easy. Like, I don't have to do anything. And I was like, well, hang on, you still have to work. You still have to negotiate and, write up your amends and your contracts, but we'll keep you organized. We'll make you look super good. And it's just been super exciting to have this opportunity.
Bruce, am I allowed to share my screen? Oh, it looks like I might be able to.
I'll make you host, but I want to echo that real quick. I'm working on an exercise with my coach. I'm still not able to deliver it exactly how I want to. However, Melissa Brashers, my coach, and I went through an exercise, and there you go, Brittany. We went through an exercise, and we learned what the cost of her either doing her lead generation or not doing her lead generation would cost her in her business with her goals. Caleb, you've got the number right behind you, but I believe it was $488. Every day that she doesn't spend her time doing her lead generation for her 2 to 3 hour chunk in accordance to her goals in her business, it costs her $488 every day she doesn't do it. And in this transaction coordination process, we're talking each file is only 500 or so bucks. The amount of time that will save you in order to accomplish your goals is unreal. I watched countless agents cop out and tell me they're slam busy working on files that would cost them 500 bucks versus $488 a day, let alone one file, and tell me they're very busy in real estate, and then they have no money at the end of the year because they weren't busy. They were busy doing busy work. They weren't busy lead generating. They weren't busy closing deals. I would never ever do a transaction without a transaction coordinator. I haven't, I won't, I never will. That process, unfortunately, and no offense to Savannah and Brittany, it's easy. Quit thinking that you're busy doing your transactions. This company is going to set you apart because you have more time to make all of your contact styles and create action around your business. So anyways, I wanted to echo home on that because I'm sick of people telling me they're busy when I'm watching them do busy work.
Amen
Hey, Bruce,
to that.
I got a question. Hey, Bruce, for us newer agents, should we do some transactions just so that we know what we're supposed to be doing, or just hire this team right now on our first transaction?
See, and that's the beauty, Gary. Great question, right? A lot of people ask me that too. And for me, if you hire a transaction coordinator, you see every single thing that they do. They CC you on everything. So what it is it saves you time from doing it, but you still get the experience and understand exactly the entire process. So I recommend getting it from the rip. There are some mindsets out there that say, I can't learn it unless I do it. And I'm okay with that in an instance, but the person that hires the TC for the first transaction, you will realize quickly that you learn everything that the TC does anyways, but you didn't have to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, and I would just echo something. Savannah, how many hours do you think you spend on a normal client? So if you're the TC and let's say you had the buyer and you went through the whole process and it closed today, how many hours did you put in?
So up front, we do a heavy front loading. So usually it takes me about an hour to initially do the under contracts. Now,
So that's
granted,
that's an hour of lead generation. That could have contacted 15 to 20 people. Okay, let's keep going.
and that's just straight up front. And then you have the one-off, emails that are coming in, and email can distract you, even though it might take like a minute to answer it. If it distracts you when you're doing something else, then obviously you're going to spend like 5 minutes answering an email, and those can add up pretty quick. I mean, my email is just always insane. And then during inspection period, probably another hour. And then the week before closing, I probably put about 2 hours in because we're handling final details, getting DAs done. There's a lot of moving parts that happen towards the end. And so having the systems in place, though, makes it organized, but it probably in the last week or so chokes up to 2 hours. So you're talking about 4 solid hours. And then there are a few, the emails and the handling things. And if you don't do a lot of upfront work, we've learned, then there's going to be a lot of questions throughout the transaction. And those are questions that we try to handle right up front. So that way your phone isn't blowing up from the client. And also something else we try to do is keep your client so informed that they're not calling you to ask you questions. You should be calling them to do check-ins or talk about inspection and closing time. And if there's an appraisal problem, like that's what you should be doing, not
Yeah,
having.
so let's just say for the sake of this group, it's 5 hours, just for the sake of this.
Sure.
We can
National
get a hold
average
of
is 10 to 15. It's
Yeah,
it's 5 days of lead generation.
Yeah, so that's where I was going. So at the end of the day, if we just used 5 hours just for the sake of this discussion, that's at 15 people an hour that you can get a hold of and talk to. That's 75 people. You're probably going to get a deal out of one of those 75 people, and that's a $10,000 transaction. So I think when you do a P&L on it, you're going to go, I'm going to spend 300 to make 10,000. What a deal. And I don't have to worry about making sure that I didn't miss this deadline. I didn't do that, because believe it or not, if you were worried about a deadline today, you're not being effective in your lead generation. You're so worried about something else. Your mind isn't, somebody throws you a question and you're like, and you just blew that opportunity. So, when you do the cost analysis, you find this is so worth the money, because it just takes that huge headache off and allows you to go focus on getting more business, right? And when somebody says, well, I want to learn the process, Bruce made it clear, you will learn it. Your TC will be giving you things and telling you things and showing you things that you'll finally get that process, right? So at the end of the day, that's a smart business person is going to utilize that so that they can make more money on the other end.
Well, and I think you got to remember too, for me, it only takes me an hour to put stuff under contract because I've been doing it for 5 years now. So I remember when I first started, it took me 3 hours. So having that experience also makes us more efficient, and I know what to look for, and can help guide the agents. Like, even with Rod and Rebecca, they're both very experienced agents. However, because I'm on the transaction side and I've been doing it so long, if I start seeing certain patterns, I can inform them and they can make phone calls to either try to save the deal, or, we can have a conversation about saying, hey, this I think is going to be a problem. Like, there's just, the more experience you have underneath of it too, I think it's always helpful, because especially your first transaction that you ever do, something could go wrong, unfortunately, because it's new. You're new to this.
I've got a question. I just want to know who would be responsible in this case scenario. So you've got loan termination, let's say Wednesday it expires at 5 p.m. The TC sends out a few letters to the loan officer, hasn't heard back, and then about 5 hours before the loan termination, sends another letter out to the loan officer, doesn't hear back. 5 p.m. that day, we don't have an answer. The next day, the loan officer, in my case, wrote back and said, yeah, everything's okay. Who would have been responsible for that, not having received an answer the day of the loan termination? Is that my responsibility?
Yeah. So as agents, you have the license, you have the legal responsibility for your clients still. The TC's role is to make sure you're aware of what's going on, that there's a deadline that hasn't been met. And so we're the reminders, but ultimately you as the agent, you're getting paid the commission. It's your license on the line. You're the expert when it comes to those things. And so that would be an agent's job.
Okay.
Yeah. And that is one thing with how we structured our TC work is we don't write any of the contracts. We won't write them up, send them out on your behalf. There's too much, there's too many different things that can go wrong in those scenarios. And we feel that it's good for the agents to still be involved throughout the process, not get it under contract, wash their hands until closing. So that is one thing that we won't do is write contracts. Or
No, and in fact, thank you, Brittany. We have a process, folks, and you write the contract, you send it over to Bruce, Lori, or I. We make sure it's okay to send out, and then you send it out. all three marketplaces, it's the responsibility of the agent to do the contract. It's not a TC's responsibility. It's your responsibility. So,
Yeah.
but that said, you have help. We have videos, we have us, so it shouldn't be any problem. And when Savannah or that team gets that, it will be ready to go. So
Yeah,
thanks.
that's fantastic. Well, and there's enough experience on our end as well. I mean, we've seen hundreds and hundreds of transactions that we've gotten to closing. So if there's a red flag that comes through, that's something that we can add to is, hey, did you think about this? Or you might want to double check that if something did come through that looked a little bit different. So.
And I think one thing to remember, because, you know, I know a few of you on this call, and for working for the Fishkin team, there are certain things obviously that I do differently, but that's because the team had gotten to a point where they could hire ATC in-house just for the team. So if that's eventually something you want where they communicate, they need to be licensed, and then you would have to hire them personally onto your team, which is a huge expense usually. So, and versus, you know, you pay us $350 contract to close, and, you know, you're making 10 grand and we're keeping you organized so you can go hit up your lead generation. But obviously, if there's something that comes up, we're going to let you know right away and say, hey, you know, we've tried to reach out to the lender getting up to this point and we have not heard anything, and we're not going to, you know, wait till absolutely last minute to warn you. We have our system set up that you're going to be aware multiple days beforehand before major deadlines happen, so you're not scrambling last minute, because no one likes to feel rushed and pressured. That's when bad things happen.
Yes. Yes. So real quick, we wanted to just go over a quick summary of what we include with the TC services so that you guys have a good idea of that. Want to be cautious of your time today. So, and I can send this out to everyone if you guys want a copy of it as well. Let me, okay.
Please, if you want to send it to me, I'll blast it out to our entire roster.
Okay, fantastic. So a little bit about what's included. So obviously all the dates and deadlines we track and coordinate, the inspection date, appraisals, final walkthroughs, and closings. Any of the contract dates are tracked and confirmed that they're complete. You'll get a reminder email of any open deadlines the day before that deadline hits. And then the day of the deadline, if the TC has not been informed that the task has been completed. So Michelle, that might kind of answer your question of, you know, giving you that heads up, and then day of, hey, we still haven't reached it. We either, you know, at that point you can do an amend, or you're on the phone with that lender. We handle.
I was just on the phone. I had to take a call during that exact 30 seconds.
Oh. I was just saying with the contract deadline. So we do send out reminders the day before all the deadlines, and then the day of the deadline as well, if it has not been completed. If we haven't been informed that this has been checked off, then you'll get another reminder so that you know that's something you need to take care of as the agent.
Got it. Okay.
Britt, real quick, just a quick tip to everybody too. If, you know, you're working with the lenders, with your buyers, and they're your preferred lenders, you need to have that conversation up front with them too. I mean, ours know that if we don't have a clear to close on loan termination deadline, I'm going to go head hunting. So that's something to think of, is have that conversation with your partners that says, you know, if it goes into risk, it's on you at that point, lender, because I have, you know, this is the deadlines we talked about. You told me you can meet this, and now there's a problem. So that's just a quick tip. Make sure you have those conversations with your preferred people.
We do handle all the commands details for you. So uploading all your paperwork throughout the transaction, submitting for your DA. So all that is handled by us as well. Introduction emails as soon as your transaction goes under contract. All the relevant information, contact info, who needs to be copied on what, lenders, title companies, closers, all those people will share all that information to the correct co-op partners, and give copies of the contracts, all of that up front. So everyone is in the loop from the get-go. Lender statuses, when we're representing the buyers, we check in with the lender weekly to make sure everything looks good and that the transaction is looking at like everything's on time. On the seller side, we check in bi-weekly, since the lender's not really our responsibility, but when we're representing the seller, we want to know if there's any red flags or anything that might delay our closing. So we do still check in with the lender as well, just not as frequent. Friday updates. This is something we will do every week on all of your transactions. So what it is it's a preview of what's coming up the next week. Here are all your dates and deadlines that will be hitting next week, what to look out for, and then also a recap of what was completed that week so that you're up to date all the time. You are copied on every single communication that is sent out by us. So you won't ever be wondering what's going on, but the Friday updates, at least for me as an agent, is super helpful because then I can go through each one of my files and just be like, oh yeah, that's where we're at. That's what I need to do next. So those have been really valuable. We track and make sure all of your documents are completed. Section 32 and 33 of those dang contracts are always missing check marks and signatures. And so it's those little details we'll follow up and make sure everything is done correctly. Make sure we have all the advisories, due diligence documents, HOA documents, and that they are sent to who they need to be sent to. Inspections, we'll gather your preferred inspectors. So up front, again, we do a lot of front loading with our agents who are your preferred inspectors, photographers, all that. So then when we send this out to your clients, it is your inspectors in there that you would recommend. And that is shared that way. We can help get those scheduled and coordinate all that as well. Status emails, we came up with this little checklist here that just helps both you and your clients know where we're at in the transaction and what's to come. So I believe there's like 7 or 8 status marks that we've deemed important. So congratulations, you're under contract, earnest money is deposited, all the documents have been reviewed, inspections complete, appraisals complete.
Oh, I think we lost Brittany for a second. Brittany, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
We lost
we did lose Brittany. And then it's prep to close and closing emails. And we also get your review links. So at closing, we actually send out reviews so that way you can start building those either on Facebook, Google, whatever site you guys want to use, we will promote that. Closing coordination, final walkthroughs, that kind of stuff. We help gather all the information, utilities, so your buyers know who to call and switch to, mailbox information, anything like that, we will gather and turn over to your client as well. So, okay, Britt, I think you keep, and then the whole thing disappeared. No, okay. Oh, I am host now. Okay. So any questions based off of that so far? When I pull this up really quickly, I apologize. We got a lot of technology. Okay.
I do. How do we
Sorry,
engage
friends,
with you?
apparently.
Oh, go ahead, Bruce.
So say I have a new listing appointment coming up this Friday at 2 p.m. How do I engage with you, and how far in advance, should we let you guys start the file and all that?
Great question.
I have a listing appointment Friday at 2 p.m.
Sounds fantastic. Thanks, Bruce. Please do not send us a contract after it's been under contract for a few days. That's like a big absolute no-no. However, if you guys are knowing that you have listing appointments going on, we don't need to know about the appointments that are coming up, but once you have those documents signed, so we do pre-listing. And for pre-listing, we'll get you into the MLS, make sure all disclosures are signed, and then we really organize you in the MLS. And if you guys, I can put a couple addresses, or I'll actually shoot a couple addresses to Bruce and he can send them out so you can see what they're going to look like. We have a contract prep form that goes in Iris. So you see you're really organized and your phone shouldn't be blowing up as much for people asking how they need to write a contract. But to answer Bruce's question, if you guys are going to be using our services, we ask that you please fill out the agent intake form. This is where we learn who your preferred people are, like lenders and inspectors, along with getting your information for like your Iris login, because we need to be able to access Iris and DocuSign or CTME. So that way you guys don't have to worry about stuff, and we can get in and send stuff out for signatures if need be. And then once you get something under contract, we'll have an email that goes out to you after you fill out the agent intake. That's called quick reference. And it has a pass the baton. So once something goes under contract, buyer or seller, you fill it out and it gives us your client's information. So that way, obviously we can, email them and have their phone numbers in case if we need to get a hold of them immediately. And our system also does text messages as well. So super nifty. And then the co-agent confirming who lender is. And that way it takes you 2 minutes to fill out this form, and then you're hands off, and then you'll just start receiving emails and reminders of what's going on. So the first form to fill out takes about 15 minutes to do. And then after that, every time you get something under contract, you just need to spend 1 to 2 minutes filling out that sheet. Does that answer your guys' question? I know it's a lot. It makes a lot more sense when it comes over an email.
No, it makes sense. So basically, in order to get the agent intake form, just email you guys.
Yep. And then if you have a new listing that comes up, you just send it to us and we send you another form to fill out for pre-list. And then we start putting everything in command and making it in the proper opportunity as well. And the best part is we make sure you actually get paid at closing.
Sorry, guys, my internet decided to go away. So good job, Savannah.
You guys type in you guys' emails and contact info. Is the contact info on the slides that I'll send out?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah, it is. But here, I'll type it in.
Oh, I got it.
And
Okay.
thanks for putting this brochure in the mail room. I picked it up there. And so it just went right through you said. So thanks for putting that there.
Perfect. Yeah. And I'm sure Savannah already went through that. The first one's free. So just try it out, even if it helps your own business and processes, things like that.
Perfect.
Sorry if I'm just saying the same thing.
No, I totally forgot to mention that. So yeah, your guys' for Keller Williams agents, you guys get a free transaction up front. So that way you can try us, because we believe so much in our systems that you'll be like, oh, this makes my life easier. And I got 2 more deals while this one was going. That's our goal.
Then you can tip us. Just kidding.
Tip my hat to you, Brittany. That's about it.
No, that's good. So cool. Does this end at 9:30 or what is your timeline, Bruce?
Yeah, you guys are a minute over. I need to jump
Okay.
into some training. Unless you guys got something more. No, this is
No.
great.
No, you go for it. So thank you.
Sweet.
Really
Brittany, host?
quickly, you guys can go find us on Facebook too. We'll be putting tips and tricks in there to help you guys do for your upfront work and stuff like that. So definitely check us out on Facebook. Our first Tip Tuesday happened yesterday, so you'll have to let me know what you guys think of it.
Symple RE. What is
Services.
the? I'll get the link.
I'm sending the flyer to you right now too.
Thanks. Thank you guys for jumping on here. Exciting to finally have you guys on here. I know you guys have been working hard in the background on all of this.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye.
Someone make me host.
Oh,
Right into it.
Oh, hang on, it's me.